Tonight, you're not falling asleep, you're falling backwards, gently, into history. The world you're about to enter? Rough roads, cold nights, and absolutely no toothpaste. But don't worry, you'll only be visiting. If these quiet time travel sessions help you unwind, consider liking and subscribing. No pressure, just vibes. Before you drift too far, let me know where you're tuning in from and what time the past is finding you. Lights low, sound soft. Let's slide into this one slow, like turning the page of an old book. You wake up in the middle of a forest clearing. Well, wake up might be a generous term for whatever state this is. You're floating between sleep and sensation, between the soft mulch of the earth beneath you and the thick gray sky above, heavy with pre-storm reluctance. The trees are tall and thin and mostly dead. You can hear them creak. Or is that something else? The air smells like a burned church, damp wood, extinguished wax, iron that has been prayed over too many times. A crow croaks somewhere behind you, or laughs. You're not sure. You're in Wallachia. Not that anyone here calls it that. Just the village. That is enough. 100 or so people living tightly against the edge of the woods, just far enough from the castle you shouldn't mention, and just close enough to the river that it floods inconveniently every 3 years and ruins the rye. The year is 1725, or something like it. Time here isn't kept precisely. What matters is who was buried last, and whether they stayed buried. Tonight, you're not one of the villagers. You're something between a ghost and a guest. The safest position, really. Because something is wrong here, and it has been wrong for days, or weeks, or longer. It begins, if such things ever truly begin, with a body. A young woman. They say her name was Stana. The name shifts and whispers, but it always ends with an A and the kind of sadness that stains soup spoons. She died, supposedly, of consumption. That's the fashionable word, a polite one. She coughed herself to death, they say, gently, elegantly. But no one looked elegant in that bed. No one looked gentle when they started spitting blood into rags. They buried her. You can still see the grave if you tilt your head and squint past the crooked crucifix, half swallowed by wildflowers and disrespect. And then, things started to happen. The dog was first. The dog, a dull brown, nervous animal named Cosma, sat by Stana's house and howled. For 3 nights. Not constantly, but precisely, just as the moon rose. His fur bristled, his eyes widened, and his paws bled from scratching at the threshold. Then came the milk, sour, frothy, red-tinged. Then the sick children, 5 in a row, all gasping through a fever no one could name. Their eyes were sunken, their nails discolored. The youngest, a girl with honey-colored hair, began to scream at night. Not words, just sounds. Just the kind of scream you don't forget. You don't need anyone to explain it to you. You already know. This is the part of the story where people get exhumed. The village elder, a man with more eyebrows than teeth, whispered the word. Not loudly, not even to the priest, but enough times that it spread. Strigoi. He said it like a warning. Others began to say it like a cure. They started by sending boys to look at her grave. Harmless things. Just to check that the earth hadn't shifted, that no roots had been disturbed, that no hand had reached out from the soil with long fingers, hungry for something that should have ended. The boys came back pale. One vomited. Another refused to speak. The last said something strange, that he saw her eyes open through the cracks in the wood, that she looked content. He walked down to the cemetery with the rest of them. It's not really a cemetery, just a slope of dirt and rock and too many thin wooden crosses, most of them warped, all of them forgotten. The air here is colder, more honest. There's no ceremony, no incense, no hymn, only the sound of a shovel biting into wet earth, a rhythm, a heartbeat in reverse. You don't see her face immediately. First, it's the fabric, the cloth still white, still fresh, as if the worms had politely declined. Then a hand, pale but not pallid, fingers curled, a faint smile around the knuckles. Someone whispers, "Look at the nails. They've grown, it's true." But that happens, that always happens. Skin tightens, illusions bloom. Someone else says she's still red, and they're right. Her cheeks glow, faintly, her lips are pink, a blush of life, or rot. No one dares speak, not even the priest, who looks like he's about to faint, or run, or both. Then comes the worst part. Her mouth is slightly open, and you could swear in that half-light that her tongue moves. They make the decision quietly. Iron, a rod, through the chest, not silver. That's a myth. And too expensive. Iron is earthy, humble, familiar. It rusts, but it obeys. It's not done yet. No one acts too quickly. This is dread, not panic. Panic is loud. This is the kind of slow horror that requires consensus. A few more children have to cough up something they shouldn't. A goat has to die in a way that no one can quite explain. And the priest, eventually, has to give the nod, even if he'll later deny it. In the meantime, you watch. You're good at that now, at being the quiet thing behind the lamplight. You see them argue, you see them plead. You see Stana's sister clutch a rosary until her hands bleed, whispering that she was kind, that she was never angry, that she didn't deserve this. No one disagrees. That's the cruelty of it, really. They believe she was good, and they believe she came back. They believe both. And that makes it worse. Somewhere far away in Vienna, men in powdered wigs are writing papers about this. They call it the morbid fascination with folkloric revenants. They smile while they write it. They never dig. Somewhere closer, another village is preparing its own rod. They heard what happened here, and they think they know what to do. But here, in this moment, you are still at the edge of the grave. The body rests falsely still, beneath the torn fabric of burial. Her mouth is open, her eyes are shut, or not shut enough. You wonder idly if her soul is watching you, if she ever had one, if she's still in there. You don't breathe, because sometimes the dead are just dead, and sometimes they're waiting. You don't remember walking back to the village. Your feet know the way, though they move like someone else's. It's dusk now, not quite night, but the kind of light that makes everything look haunted. A hushed copper glow spills through the crooked windows of huts that are too small for grief, and yet hold plenty of it. Smoke rises from chimneys like exhausted ghosts. It smells faintly of pine sap and desperation. A stew bubbles over someone's hearth, thick with cabbage and boiled bone. You try not to smell it too deeply. And the whispers have started. They slither between walls, slip through door cracks, and nestle inside eaves like mice in the winter. They don't say her name, not directly. That would be rude and dangerous. Names are too sharp in a village like this. They might cut something open. Instead, they say things like, "Did you hear about the grave?" The dog again, he was barking at nothing. "I saw her brother. He's not sleeping. He says her mirror cracked." And then the worst one, always whispered behind a hand, "It's happening again." No one says what it is. Not directly, but everyone remembers. The last time was 5 years ago. The sickness began in the spring, a slow bloom of fever, blood, and rot that crept from house to house like a drunk man looking for someone to blame. 3 children, 2 elders, and a goat. They blamed Ion, the old widower with cloudy eyes and an unfortunate chin. They dug him up too. They found nothing special, no blush, no long tongue, but they drove the stake anyway. And after that, the sickness stopped. So they called it a success. Even though secretly, some believed it had just run its course, even though Ion's daughter moved away and never came back. Still, the rod worked, and that's what matters, right? You pass the well. A woman stands there, one hand clutching the bucket, the other clutching her own wrist like she's trying not to float away. Her name is Ruxandra. She has 17 moles on her left cheek. She counts them when she's anxious. She has 2 sons, both alive. One of them is coughing. She looks at you, or maybe through you. "I saw her," she says, "in the window, last night." Her voice is too calm, as if she's telling you how much flour she has left. You don't ask which window. The village is a place where nothing is private, yet everyone pretends it is. Secrets here are communal theater. Everyone watches, everyone gasps, and everyone pretends they didn't. There's no paper to pass rumors on, no ink to write them down, just mouths. And mouths are more dangerous than plague. They mutate the story. Stretch it, let it rot a little. It becomes a living thing. By the time you reach the chapel, the whisper chain has bloomed into full anxiety. The priest is standing outside, smoking something from a crooked pipe. He doesn't look up as you approach. He's sweating, even though it's cold. His hands tremble. He smells like incense, rot, and resignation. You don't speak. He doesn't either. But there's understanding. He saw the blush on her cheeks too. He heard the cough from her cousin's house. He's waiting for someone else to say it first. Someone always does. Usually the midwife, or the butcher. People who know the shape of flesh, living and not. This time, it's the miller's wife. She has red-rimmed eyes and flour on her elbows. Her baby won't eat. Her mirror cracked too. She says she heard something outside her window. A soft thump, like someone had leaned against it just briefly. Like they wanted to come in, she says, but remembered they weren't invited. That last part matters, because rules are everything here. Even the dead follow them. You slip into the chapel. It's made of stone and prayer. The roof leaks. The floor is uneven. But it holds a strange stillness, a kind of spiritual molasses that sticks to your ribs. There are icons on the walls, painted saints with imploring eyes and oddly small hands. Their gazes follow you, or accuse you, or perhaps just pity you. There's a bowl of holy water near the altar. Something is floating in it. You don't ask what. On the pew sits Father Petru. He is very old. His eyes are pale and filmy, like cracked porcelain soaked in milk. He has not spoken since the first time, the first vampire, the first exhumation. They say he chose silence to keep the evil from slipping out his mouth. Or maybe he just ran out of words. He blesses you with a shaking hand. His fingers smell like ash and something metallic. Behind him, nailed to the wall, is the iron rod. It's been used before. It will be used again. You hear something drip. The whisper chain tightens around a single name. Not Stana's. Not anymore. Now it's the Revenant. They've removed her identity, replaced it with fear. People don't say Stana might be cursed. They say the Revenant took the child's breath. It's more comfortable that way. More myth than memory. You wonder how long it takes for grief to become superstition. You suspect, not very long at all. Later that evening, there's a town meeting. They don't call it that. It's just, everyone happens to be near the bread oven. Coincidentally, with pitchforks. They speak in murmurs. No one volunteers to lead, but someone always does, the blacksmith this time. He's not brave, but he's practical. He built the fence that never kept out wolves, and now he thinks iron might keep out something worse. We do it at dawn, he says. 1 rod. Then we seal the grave. No one protests, not even her family. They just cry. Quietly. That night, you don't sleep. You lie in a house made of straw and regret, and you listen. To coughing. To wind. To something knocking 3 times on the shutters. But most of all, you listen to the whispers. They're louder now. Inside your own thoughts. She didn't mean to come back. It wasn't her fault. She was hungry. She's still hungry. You cover your ears, but whispers don't need ears. They just need time. And time, well, it's running out. You wake to silence. But not the peaceful kind. Not the kind that kisses your ears and says rest a little longer. No, this silence is watchful. It holds its breath. It waits. It presses against your chest like an old familiar anxiety wearing a borrowed shawl. Outside, the frost has crusted over the windows in curling little fingers. You don't remember when it got this cold. You don't remember much, really. Just the whispers. The grave. The rod. The eyes that may or may not have opened. You try to sit up. Your body creaks like an attic door. Something is different today. Not louder. Just more specific. Because now, the dread has a shape. A face. One you know. Stana again. But this time, she's not just the Revenant. She's Stana. With a past, with a laugh, with a crooked incisor and a habit of humming when she kneaded dough. You saw her once, maybe twice, before she was dead. She was taller than people remembered, and thinner than she should have been. Not in the willowy, romantic way, in the malnourished, is-she-eating way. She wore the same 2 dresses all year, and walked as if trying not to disturb the soil. She lived on the western edge of the village, in the last hut before the trees took over. No fence. Just a little clay marker above the door in the shape of a hand, a folk ward. For luck, for protection, for pretending you're not alone. Her brother is still there, Dumitru. You might visit him today. Everyone else will. The path to Dumitru's home is narrow and worn. 2 ruts in the earth where carts used to roll. Now it's mostly feet. Hesitant ones. As you walk, you pass more villagers than usual. They're all going the same way. No one speaks, but each pair of eyes holds a question they don't want answered. Dumitru's hut smells like boiled onions and old wool. There's a goat skull nailed to the lintel, not unusual, just recent. Inside he sits alone, shirtless, red-eyed, bruised. His arms are scratched raw as if he's been fighting shadows. You don't speak. You sit. He begins to talk without being asked. His voice is hoarse, drained. She wasn't sick, not at first, just tired. She stopped baking, stopped singing. One day she stood by the window for hours and said the forest was breathing. He smiles, but not the good kind. I thought maybe she was just lonely, or worse, that she wanted to leave. But she didn't, she just drifted. He pauses, then continues. The day she died, her eyes were wide open, wide, dry. We had to close them, her mouth too. She kept it open like she had one last thing to say, but the words never came out. You look at his hands, they're shaking. I think maybe she did say it, he adds quieter now. But not then, not there. You know what he means. Someone knocks, once, twice, then just silence. You open the door. It's Baba Ileana, the oldest person in the village, maybe in the world, with a spine like a question mark and breath like chimney soot. She wears 10 shawls and carries a string of garlic longer than your arm. She looks at Dimitru, then at you. We are doing it tonight, she says, before the moon eats itself. You don't ask what that means, you just nod. Back in the village, preparations begin. Iron is cleaned, candles are melted into new shapes, prayers are stitched into bread. The priest blesses the rod again, though his lips barely move. You learn something, quietly. This isn't the first time someone's loved one has been the monster. In fact, it's almost always someone you know, someone you liked. They're never strangers. Strangers don't come back. You think about that later, as you sit beneath the twisted birch outside the chapel. The sky is a wet cloth. The air tastes like metal. You remember Stana again, not dead, just around. Once she helped you gather mushrooms. Once you saw her crying near the river. Once you caught her holding a dead bird with so much gentleness it made you uncomfortable. She was a person. Now she's a warning. Night falls like it regrets it. Dimitru does not come to the grave. You do. So does Baba Ileana. So does the priest. So does the crowd. And so does Stana. No, not really. But you feel her. She's not in the coffin. Not yet. She's in the space around it. In the silence between coughs. In the way no one quite looks each other in the eye. They say her name again. Stana. Softly. As if maybe it'll hurt less that way. And someone, maybe you, lifts the iron. It's not sharp. It doesn't need to be. It only needs to be final. You think, what if she just woke up? What if the fever made her slow? What if she clawed the lid and no one heard? You press the thought down. Hard, but it writhes. Thoughts like that always do. The rod descends, the breath holds, and you remember, she used to hum. She had a laugh like wine-soaked bread. She was always cold. There's a sound, not a scream, but almost. And then silence again, but different this time. Not watching, not waiting, just empty. The iron stays in. The priest weeps for the first time. You all go home, or try to. Some of you will never really make it back, because dread has a shape now, and it looked like someone you loved. It should have ended with the rod. That's the rule, isn't it? You drive the iron through the chest, not the heart, never the heart, because that's symbolic nonsense and iron has no time for poetry, and you seal the grave with salt and ash and 3 muttered prayers, only 2 of which you understand. And then the dead stay down. That's the story, the rule, the script. But tonight, the script feels soggy, like a page left out in the rain, because the funeral didn't work. And you begin to suspect it never does. You rise early, not because you want to, because you didn't really sleep. How could you? When the wind kept brushing the shutters like a fingernail, when something kept knocking but softly, like it wasn't trying to come in, just trying to remind you that it could. The sky is still gray when you shuffle outside. It always is lately. Like God forgot to finish the day. You follow your feet. They seem to know where to go. They lead you to the chapel, again, of course, where the priest is on his knees, scraping the floor with a knife. There's wax everywhere, as if the candles tried to warn him and melted in fear. You step inside. The air smells like wet iron and extinguished hope. She was here, the priest whispers. I locked the door. You don't ask how she got in. You don't ask what she left behind. You see it anyway, a smudge on the far icon. Not blood, not dirt, just darkness. A smear that feels like being watched. It's in the shape of a hand but too long, and it's still warm. Later that morning, the burial site is reopened. Not officially, no tools, just eyes. The kind of looking that makes you feel guilty before you've even seen the thing. The dirt is sunken, slightly, like it sighed, and there's a print, a single one. Too large for a rabbit, too narrow for a boot. No one mentions it out loud, but everyone sees it. The funeral had been 3 days ago. It had seemed proper. The body wrapped in cloth, the priest reciting the rites, the sisters weeping at the right intervals. Bread handed out with salt on top. the old sign that grief had come and been acknowledged. They even did the little extras. Garlic tucked into the mouth, a coin under the tongue, a cross made of hawthorn laid over the chest like a too-late apology. They sealed the coffin with pitch. It oozed like sap, it stank like betrayal. And yet, here you are, with a grave that breathes and a chapel that twitches. You ask around, the gravedigger swears he did it right. Deep as I could, he insists. 2 arms down, maybe more, used holy earth. He won't meet your eyes when he says it, because he knows, you all know. It wasn't about how deep, it was about who. You hear stories that afternoon. The kind villagers only tell once they've had a shot of something sharp. The butcher's son says he heard her voice in his dream, calling his name. Not a scream, just soft, like a lullaby made of bees. The midwife says her cat won't go near the door. It just stares and howls and stares. The baker's youngest woke up with dirt in her mouth. She hadn't gone outside. And then someone, maybe the blacksmith, says the sentence no one wants to hear. We buried her wrong. The silence after that is physical. You could cut it with the very rod still stuck in her chest. But he's right. There's a correct way to bury the wrong kind of dead. And you didn't follow it. You gather again, this time not in daylight, not with ceremony, but with fear. The priest carries his book like a shield. Baba Ileana mutters constantly. Not spells, not prayers. Just names. Names of people who stayed buried. Maybe she's trying to remind the world how it's supposed to work. You walk. The air is thick, not foggy but heavy, like the forest is leaning closer. You reach the grave. And stop. Because it's not a grave anymore. It's a hole. Perfectly rectangular, fresh, empty. The body is gone. The rod is lying on top of the earth like a discarded spoon. Someone drops to their knees, someone else runs, someone else laughs. Not from joy, but from the unbearable weight of not knowing what else to do. There are rules, you see, for vampires, for revenants, for the restless. You must bury them with care. Not love, not hate, just precision. There must be coins, but only from the last harvest. The garlic must be grown, not traded. The priest must speak the true name. Not the one on the record. The one whispered during fever. You got all of it wrong. And so the funeral didn't work. And now the forest is listening, and the wind is remembering words it wasn't supposed to know. And the iron is cold again, but not for long. There's a certain sound dirt makes when it resists you. It's not a crunch, not a squelch. It's more like a slow groan. Like the land itself is embarrassed. Like it's trying to hold on to its secrets and failing. You hear that sound now, over and over. Shovel into earth, pause, shovel again and again and again. This is the first digging, at least the first one you remember. But it already feels ancient, like it's happened before and will again and again. You stand in a circle of bodies pretending not to shiver. No one speaks above a whisper. Even the birds are gone. Even the wind seems afraid to breathe. It began officially 2 days after the funeral. Unofficially, it began before the body was even cold. People notice things, the small things, always, the ones that make no sense unless you already suspect something worse. Milk curdled before it left the udder. A boy fell from a ladder and broke both wrists, on nothing. The eldest villager, 94 and smug about it, woke up screaming with scratches across his chest, deep ones, thin and perfectly parallel. Then came the dream. Always, always the dream. You had it too, didn't you? You don't remember falling asleep, but suddenly you were in the woods, naked feet, sharp pine needles, a fog like milk gone sour, and she was there, Stana, but not quite, not alive, not dead. Something in between. Her eyes were wrong, not glowing, not monstrous, just alert, too alert. As if she'd never blinked, as if she remembered everything that ever happened to her, and to you, and to everyone else. She held out her hand, and you, fool that you are, took it. You woke sweating. Your pillow smelled like damp soil. Your nails were black under the edges, and your mouth tasted like rust. Not blood, rust. That morning, no one confessed the dream. But you all had it. You could see it in the way no one made eye contact, in the way the bread was burned, in the way the baby wouldn't stop crying even when offered a spoonful of honey laced with poppy. Something was broken. So they dug. The grave was not quite right. The cross was tilted, yes, but more than that. The ground was cracked. Not just sunk, as graves sometimes do. Cracked, like something had pushed upwards, slowly but firmly, like something had tested the lid. The priest made a gesture, not the sign of the cross, something older, a flick of the fingers, a circle on the chest. Your body copied it before your mind even knew what it meant. You weren't alone in that. The shovels reached wood. The coffin was damp. No, wet. It had absorbed too much time, too much fear. It groaned like a drunkard with secrets. They paused. The priest cleared his throat. "We open it, slowly." He said "we." But he didn't mean himself. It was the blacksmith who stepped forward. Because iron calls to iron. Because he built the lid. Because guilt is heavier than the soil he lifts. The lid creaks, more sound than you'd expect from dead wood. And then, silence. No gasp, no scream, just looking. And then a chorus of tiny sounds, a whimper, a breath, a gag. She's there. Stana. Still, but not the way she was. Her hair is cleaner than expected, her skin, pink, too pink. There's moisture on her lips, her eyes are closed but lightly. Not like sleep, not like death, like she's faking it, like a child pretending to nap. And her mouth? Slightly open. And yes, you see it too. Her tongue is longer than it should be, thin, gray, not quite human. It moves. No one says anything for a long time. Then Baba Ilyana mutters, "She's been feeding." You want to ask how, on what, but you don't, because she looks better now than she did when she was alive. The priest begins a chant, low, uneven, unconvincing. He fumbles the words. He drops the vial of holy water. Someone runs. The rest of you, stay. Because leaving means admitting it's real, and staying means pretending it isn't. The blacksmith raises the rod. Not yet, not yet. Someone says, "What if we're wrong?" And someone else, maybe you, replies, "What if we're not?" The rod enters her chest with a noise you'll never forget. Not a scream, not a pop, a sigh, like something leaving. Her body arches slightly, her mouth opens wider, her hands clench, and from somewhere deep in the woods you hear something else scream. Something that doesn't want to be alone. You bury her again, deeper this time, with salt, ash, and a broken mirror. The priest leaves the rod in. The villagers say it's over. They say it worked. They always say that. But that night, the cat won't come inside. The milk smells strange, and you dream again. Not of Stana, of something older, something with her eyes, but much, much hungrier. You've heard the phrase before, rest in peace. But resting isn't always voluntary. And peace, that's a luxury of the living. The dead, when they don't stay dead, require encouragement. Firm encouragement. Preferably involving iron and fire and teeth-gritting ceremony passed down by candlelight and mistrust. Tonight, you learn how to kill what's already dead, and you begin to understand why most people don't survive the knowledge. There's a table in Baba Ilyana's home. It's not a large table, just 3 wobbly legs and a plank of old oak bleached with herbs and centuries. It has stains, brown, green, a little bit of red, some from soup, some from rituals. On it now, a rusty sickle, shaped like the moon, a jar of pig's blood, still warm, a dried wolf's tooth, tied with string, and a book. Not a real book. Not one with a spine or author or dust jacket. Just a stack of parchment held together by grief and beeswax. The ink smells like mushrooms. The pages crackle. The words were written by someone who did not enjoy writing them. You don't sit at the table, you stand. Everyone stands. Because once you sit, you're part of the ritual. And you're not quite ready for that. Not yet. You must pin the tongue, Baba says. It's not a suggestion. It's not even said with drama, just fact. She flips to a page that shows a head. Human, barely. The mouth pried open with bones. A nail, long and dark, goes straight through the tongue and into the jaw. If you don't pin the tongue, it can still whisper, still call things, even from beneath the ground. You nod. You wish you hadn't. The book continues. A nettle crown to confuse the spirit. A black hen's heart buried upside down. Salt in the mouth, but only if the salt has never touched sunlight. A red thread from a child's hem to bind regret. And if none of those work? Dismemberment, Baba says cheerfully. But that can get messy. Someone behind you coughs or laughs. You can't tell. Killing the undead isn't like killing the living. It's not about damage. It's about disrespect. You have to strip the thing of its stories, its symbols, its identity. You have to say, you are not welcome here anymore. Not just with words, with ritual. Because the undead thrive on the rules you forget. The borrowed mirror, the broom left unturned, the bread you broke without prayer, the lullaby you hummed out of tune. They notice. Baba lists the methods like a cook reciting recipes. Iron, always iron, but it must be old. New iron is too clean. It doesn't remember. Fire, but not just any fire. Grave fire. It must be lit from a candle that's burned in a skull. Ash, preferably from a yew tree, mixed with dried goat's milk, applied to the eyes of the corpse. You ask why. She shrugs. So it can't see its way back. The priest arrives late. He looks more tired than holy. His robe is wrinkled. His eyes are fogged. He sets something on the table. A rosary made of teeth. Human? Unknown. But the effect is immediate. The candle next to it sputters. The book closes itself. Baba nods in approval. You are all preparing for something. You don't say it, but you feel it. The grave is not enough. The rod is not enough. The silence after the scream was not victory. It was postponement. And Stana, or what wears her skin, is not alone anymore. Later that night, you're asked to help with the next burial. But this one is different. It's for Nikolay, the candlemaker's apprentice. He died yesterday, of nothing, just collapsed. No wounds, no fever, no cause. His lips were pale, but his tongue was black. You carry his body to the cemetery. It feels heavier than it should be, as if something inside is resisting. You lay him in the ground. No rod this time, no ritual, just speed and dirt and whispers. You go home, you try to eat. The bread is stale, the stew is sour. The goat won't stop staring at the window. You wonder, what did we forget? Which part of the instructions? Was it the salt, the crown, the thread, the belief? 'Cause maybe, just maybe, it's not about doing the ritual right. It's about knowing why you're doing it at all. You dream of Nikolay. He's smiling, but not at you. At something behind you. When you turn, it's Stana. Her tongue is pinned, but she's still humming. You dream of chewing. Not eating. Chewing. Endless, mindless mastication. The kind that doesn't nourish, only occupies. Your jaw aches but doesn't stop. Your molars grind against something soft, something fibrous, something that pulses once and then goes still. You taste nothing, but your mouth is full. And when you wake, your tongue is bleeding. Just a little, but enough. You are not alone. Around the village, others are waking with sore jaws, cracked lips, reddened pillows. A child is found gnawing on a doorframe, whimpering. An old man swears he saw his wife chewing on her own fingernails while asleep. Not biting them, chewing. Slowly, as if savoring. No one speaks of it during the day, but at night, they dream, and always teeth. Baba Ilyana says it's a sign. Something's hungry and it's using us to remember how to eat. She boils nettle leaves and rubs them on her gums. The priest fasts. The blacksmith files his teeth down. You floss. Desperately. Futilely, as if that might help. It starts small, as these things always do. A sheep is found half-eaten. Not devoured, gnawed, like a child with a tough biscuit. Only the wool and bones remain intact. Then the baker's wife. She bites through her tongue in her sleep, dies from choking on her own blood. They find her teeth sharpened, unnaturally so. She was never buried, she was burned. The dreams intensify. You begin to hear crunching as you fall asleep. Not outside, inside. Deep in the ears, behind the eyes, like someone chewing on your thoughts. Your pillow smells like dirt. Again. You wake with something small and white between your lips. You think it's a seed. It's not. It's a tooth, not yours. They hold another meeting. Less of a meeting, more of a gathering of desperation dressed in wool and fear. Everyone brings something, a charm, a talisman, a bruise. One woman clutches a sack of flour like it can protect her. The whispers begin before the priest arrives. It's spreading. She's building a nest. She's feeding through us. We're her mouth. You try to speak, but your throat hurts, and your molars feel loose. Baba Ilyana brings out a small wooden box. Inside, 10 teeth. Human. Clean. Carefully placed. From last time, she says. No one asks what she means by last time. She explains slowly. The undead don't always drink. That's the lie the city people tell. Some feed on memory. Some on sound. Some, the worst ones, feed on the movement of others. This one, she feeds on repetition. On mouths that never stop moving. We gave her a name once, but it's best not to say it. That night, no one dares sleep. You try, you fail. You sit by the hearth, watching the fire sag into embers. Your hands tremble. Your jaw aches. You chew on your own fingernail. It takes you a full minute to realize it. You stop, but only just. Somewhere outside, a sound. Crunch. You go to the window. The moon is full and heavy. The ground looks pale, unnatural. And in the distance, at the edge of the forest, someone is standing. No, not standing. Rocking back and forth as if humming, as if chewing. You blink. She's closer, not walking, just nearer. The trees behind her bend in submission. You see her face. It's Stana, of course, but also not. Her mouth is open. Her teeth are too white, too neat, too many, and they are moving even though she is still, as if her hunger is thinking without her. You don't scream, you just shut the curtain. Slowly. And then you turn and realize everyone else in your house is chewing, even the baby, especially the baby. You rush to the chapel, it's empty. But you kneel anyway. You whisper prayers in languages you barely believe. You clutch a crucifix until it cuts your palm. But your mouth is still moving, even now. Silently, rhythmically, like it knows, like it's practicing. Baba Ileana appears beside you. You didn't hear her come in. We have to remove them, she says. The teeth, hers, ours, it's how she's walking. We're dreaming her hunger, and now it's dreaming us back. You consider this as your tongue presses involuntarily against your molars. One of them wiggles, just slightly, but enough. The next day the baker is found dead, mouth full of bark, throat torn from the inside. The blacksmith is missing, so is his hammer, and one of his teeth, left on your doorstep. You begin to wonder, how do you kill something that feeds through you? How do you silence a mouth that isn't yours? And what happens when the hunger becomes pleasant? You chew on these thoughts. They taste like iron. The chapel is the last place anyone wants to be, which is exactly why you're there. It's supposed to be safe, of course. Holy, sealed by prayer, by habit, by an old agreement between fear and faith. But tonight, it feels less like sanctuary and more like a waiting room for something larger and hungrier, something with perfect teeth. You step inside. The door groans like a warning. The air is thick with wax, not the warm beeswax of comfort, but the brittle scent of melted tallow, pooled and repooled across decades. The candles have been lit too many times. Some are melted down into pale stumps, like fat little bones in shallow bowls. Their flames flicker strangely, as if breathing, as if reacting, as if watching. You don't come here for prayer. You come here to look the saints in the eye. There are icons on every wall, painted, carved, pressed into metal, faces of holy figures staring just above your head, as if embarrassed for you. Most are cracked. Some are crying, literally. Thin, blackened tears trail down the cheeks of Saint Margareta. A crust of wax has formed around Saint Basil's mouth, like a scab. The Christ figure over the altar has lost its eyes completely. In their place, holes, not painted, real. You can see the stone behind them, and you think you see something move there, just briefly. You sit in the pew, it's sticky. You don't ask why. Your legs tremble, your jaw aches. The chewing has stopped for now. But the itch remains, a ghost of movement in your molars, a hunger you don't recognize. You try to pray, you forget the words halfway through. Instead, you whisper the only thing that seems to hold weight here, please stop. The priest emerges from the sacristy like he's being pushed. His eyes are red, his hands are trembling. There's wax on his sleeves, blood on his collar. He sees you and doesn't react. He walks straight to the altar, kneels, opens his mouth, and spits out a tooth. It clinks softly on the floor, a single sharp note in a room that should be silent. He does not explain. You do not ask. You simply add yours to the pile because you brought one too. Of course you did. It fell out this morning during your dream. Baba Ileana appears. Again, no sound of her arrival. She's always just there. She walks straight to the altar and begins arranging the teeth. There are 12 now. She places them in a circle. Inside, a candle, around the edge, salt, ash, a scrap of cloth from Stana's burial shroud. We're gonna listen, she says, but we won't like what we hear. The candle flares, a pale blue flame like a memory trying to burn. The wax begins to bubble. It smells like fat and regret. And then, from nowhere, a voice. Not loud, not clear. Not even a voice, really. Just the impression of one. Like someone whispering behind your tongue. It says your name, not just yours, everyone's. But it says your true name, the one only your mother used. The one you haven't heard since the fever took her. You choke, you hear chewing again. This time, it's from beneath the floorboards. Baba Ileana lights 3 more candles. Each flame tilts unnaturally toward the altar. The saint's eyes seem to widen. One cracks down the middle. The room tilts slightly, as if the chapel itself is recoiling. And then, a voice. This time real, clear, unmistakable. She's in the chapel. The priest gasps. Baba does not move. He turns slowly toward the door. It's shut, still locked. But the light is wrong. Everything is lit from behind you. But the candles are all in front of you. You turn back. The altar is gone. No, not gone. Covered by fabric. White, stained, familiar. It's her burial shroud, and it's wet. You step forward. There is something beneath it. It's breathing. You lift the corner. You do not scream. You do not run, because you can't. Because inside is a mouth, not a face. Just a mouth, wider than it should be, lined with teeth, not all human, and it is chewing. On what? You don't want to know, but you do know it's your name. The candle explodes. Wax sprays across the saints. One of them, Saint Petronius, weeps blood. You fall backwards. The mouth is gone. The shroud lies flat, dry, unmoving. The priest has fainted. Baba is gone, and you are alone, except you're not. Because you hear footsteps above you, on the chapel ceiling. You crawl toward the door. Your knees stick to the stone. Your teeth grind without permission. You reach the handle. It turns. It opens. You fall out into the cold, wet grass. You spit. Another tooth. Not yours. The chapel behind you exhales, a long, contented sigh, the kind one might make after a heavy meal. You do not go back inside. No one does. The next day it burns. No one admits to lighting the fire, but everyone watches. And as the saints blacken and bubble, the mouth smiles. Milk is supposed to be simple. A comfort. A constant. A white, warm promise that even in a world of rot and ritual, something gentle can still be coaxed from the body. But now, it curdles in the bucket, foams in the pail, dribbles down the udders with a pinkish hue. You do not drink the milk anymore. You do not dare. It starts with the goats. They bleat as usual, but hoarser, shorter, like each cry is missing its breath. Their eyes go glassy. Their milk turns red. Someone jokes, darkly, that they've been blessed by Stana. The laughter that follows is forced, thin, embarrassed, because the joke is too close, because Stana is too close. Even now. You visit the herder's hut. He's outside, kneeling, staring at something cupped in his hands. You approach slowly. He doesn't look up. It's in the blood, he murmurs. Not theirs, mine, or hers. You glance down. He's holding a bowl. It's full of milk, or was. Now it's gelatinous, clotted. The top is pink, with swirls of gray. Floating in the center is a tooth, not a goat's. Too large, too human. You step back. He doesn't. She's feeding through the animals now. He says she's tired of us. You ask if he's told anyone. He shrugs. They know, they just haven't said it yet. That afternoon, 3 cows die. One after the other. No wound, no fever, they just fall. Hearts stopped. All 3 have blood in their mouths. When cut open, nothing inside. Just chewed organs, hollowed smooth like fruit scooped clean. The butcher refuses to touch them. Baba Ileana nods grimly. She's passed through their bellies, she says. She's tasting us by proxy. The baby down the lane, the one who always smiled, stops nursing, screams when offered milk. Even water won't go down. She claws at her throat, then her ears, then her tongue. Her mother holds her, crying. She rocks her. She sings, and the baby dies mid-song, foam at her lips, pink. The midwife returns with an old book, not one of Baba's. This one is city-bound, a doctor's journal. Illegible mostly, Latin, faded ink, bad grammar. But one passage is clear. Revenantum lactis corruptio. The revenant spoils the milk, for it seeks to suckle life backwards. This is not metaphor. You gather the village. No formal meeting this time, just a mass of hunger, grief, and sleepless mouths. Everyone's lips are cracked. No one trusts their own saliva. A woman speaks first. You don't know her name. She's missing 2 fingers. We must starve her, she says. If she's feeding through us, through the milk, the animals, the dreams, we must close the door. We stop eating. Silence, then mutters. Then one man, a merchant with trembling hands, steps forward and opens his mouth. A tooth falls out. She's already inside, he whispers. What use is a locked door when the thief lives in the walls? The debate is short. The conclusion, grim. Purge everything. Every cow, goat, hen, slaughtered. Every milk pail, smashed. Every cheesecloth, burned. Every tooth not rooted, extracted. By dusk, the village smells like fire and fear. Sour cream sizzling in ash, blood on hay. A child coughs up something white. It's not milk, it's bone dust. You skip dinner. Everyone does. But that night, you dream of feasting. Teeth tearing, mouths moving. Not yours, but from within. You wake to a scream. Outside, the well has overflowed. Thick red foam rising from the stone lip. Baba Ileana spits into the grass and mutters, she's thirsty now. And suddenly you realize it was never about food, not real food. It was always about hunger itself, about the act of devouring, the fear of being devoured, the ritual of consumption, of taking in, the milk, the dreams, the teeth. She doesn't just want to eat. She wants to be inside you, to chew the world from the inside out. You clutch your mouth, you feel something wriggle behind a molar. You pray it's imagination. It's not. By now, no one trusts anything soft. Not bread, not silence, not the shape of your neighbor's mouth when they say your name. The village has turned inward, not to pray but to watch, to listen, to accuse, and of course to whisper. Because superstition thrives best when you don't know who's next. The chapel is gone, burned, blackened bones of faith still jutting from the earth like crooked teeth. The priest has vanished, some say he fled. Others say he swallowed his rosary to keep her out. Only Baba Ileana remains, and even she seems hesitant. Her spells come slower now. Her shawls smell like fear. Her eyes flick toward the woods too often, like she's trying to count the trees before they move. They gather in the old granary now. An odd place for sermons, but it's the only roof that hasn't buckled under whatever is happening. And it has one advantage: it locks from the outside. You're inside it now, seated on a stool that once held sacks of barley. The dust chokes, the oil lamp sputters. In front of you, the townsfolk murmur prayers, but no one finishes them. They just start and loop and repeat. Deliver us, deliver us, deliver us. Like a stuck wheel in mud. No traction, no hope, just noise to keep the chewing at bay. Then come the accusations. They don't say witch, that word died years ago. But they say host, conduit. She has the dream too often. I heard her humming. You realize quickly, no one is safe. Not the midwife, she's bled too many people. Not the baker's son, he smiles too easily. Not you, your teeth are too white. Superstition sharpens into ritual. They begin to invent new rules. Do not look directly into a mirror after dark. Do not speak a name more than twice in a day. Do not sleep facing east. That's where her mouth opens. If you see a neighbor chewing in their sleep, wake them with fire. You laugh the first time you hear that one. No one else does. They start inspecting each other. Daily. A quiet, grim roll call of lips and breath. Let me see your tongue. Let me smell your hands. Let me count your teeth. If you have one too many, you're taken to the edge of the forest. No one returns from the edge of the forest. The children begin repeating things, phrases they've never been taught. I hear her crawling through the floor. She licked the priest's spine. If I eat my name, she'll love me. Parents cover their ears, but the word spread anyway. One child swallows a rosary bead, another bites off her own fingernail and plants it. Something grows, no one touches it. You try to stay out of it. You stop speaking unless spoken to. You don't yawn in public. You chew nothing. You keep your hands in your pockets. Still, you feel the eyes, especially from old man Radu. He saw you leave the granary early once. Now he watches your window at night. You catch him chewing, but only once. He doesn't appear the next day. His shoes are found on your doorstep. Inside one, a molar. The rituals multiply. Burn your dreams in the hearth. Sleep with pepper under your tongue. Carve a crescent into your own palm each dawn. Walk backwards at dusk. They're nonsense, you know this, but you do them anyway, because superstition is safer than doubt. And faith, real, soft, breakable faith, died in the fire with the chapel. One evening, a woman is dragged from her home. She was heard singing in her sleep, in a voice not her own, a language no one recognized. They tie her to a post, ask her questions. She just chews, no food in her mouth, no lips moving. But the sound is there, rhythmic, wet. They burn her. The smoke carries that sound with it. People cough. One boy laughs, then his teeth fall out, all at once, like hail. They gather them in a basket and bury them, far away. The ground rejects them. Dirt rolls back, roots twist, they burn the basket. You visit Baba. She's preparing something, a mixture. She says it's to see the ones who still carry her voice. You drink it. It tastes like rust and vinegar and something old. Your vision swims. You look out your window. And suddenly, everyone's mouth is moving. Even the babies, even the goats, even the wind in the trees. Every single thing is chewing. You collapse. You wake up in your bed, alone. There's a knock at the door. You do not answer. You chew your own lip. Blood pools on your tongue. It tastes like milk. Love here is not a feeling. It is a risk, a liability, a tooth wrapped in velvet. Because when mouths are the problem, kissing becomes a threat. When hunger spreads through touch, love becomes contagious. When your dreams are no longer your own, falling in love is just feeding the wrong mouth. You begin to notice it one night, sitting too close to the hearth, trying not to chew your own thoughts. Two villagers, you don't know their names, not anymore. They hold hands, quietly. Behind the barn, you weren't meant to see it, and yet you hear the sound first. Not of skin on skin, of something else, wet, subtle, like a second set of mouths beneath their palms, kissing through the nerves. The next day she's gone. He won't speak, just rocks back and forth whispering, "She tasted like dirt, she tasted like something trying to get out." They bury what they find of her. It isn't much, just a tooth, and a lock of hair wrapped around itself like a tongue. Romance used to be rare here anyway. Life was too short, too muddy, too full of goats. But now, courtship has dried up completely. Not even longing remains, only vigilance. They start teaching new lessons to the children, not about love, but containment. Do not look at someone for longer than a breath. Do not touch hands unless the moon is new. If someone says your name with affection, bite your tongue before you answer. They practice silence in pairs. They learn to weep inwardly. And yet, you remember Stana, before she was the other thing. She had someone, didn't she? A boy who used to bring her river pebbles, not flowers, pebbles, smooth, cold, honest. You remember them sitting close, heads nearly touching. She laughed, once, not loudly, but she laughed. You ask Baba about him. She squints. Vasila, she says, he left, or she took him. You ask what she means. She shrugs. When you carry someone's name too tightly, it leaves a mark. You find his home, abandoned, damp, too quiet. In the hearth, pebbles, laid in a perfect circle, one missing. You reach into the ash, and underneath, something soft, a letter, not ink, blood. The writing loops like a mouth mid-chew. I still see her. In every stream, in every dream. When I kiss the air, she breathes back. That night you dream of being kissed, not gently, not lovingly, a mouth pressed against yours, teeth grazing your gums, tongue that tastes like earth and old prayers. You wake with soil in your mouth and a red pebble under your pillow. You've never seen it before, but you know exactly who gave it to you. The next day, two more disappear. They were seen holding hands near the edge of the woods. They were also seen chewing the same piece of bread. People say they wanted it. They let her in. They deserved it. No one says they were in love. That word is gone. Instead, they coin new ones. Mouth binding, when two people dream the same teeth. Kiss thirst, when someone craves the warmth of another's lips too often. Tongue sharing, a curse now, worse than plague. A young man carves the name of his lover into his arm. It festers. The wound chews itself wider. When he dies, they find her name engraved on his esophagus. And you? You avoid eye contact. You sleep facing the wall. You pretend not to notice the way your chest aches when no one touches you. But sometimes, when you brush your own lips in the mirror, you feel someone else's breath, just faintly, like a lost kiss. Baba tries a ritual to sever affection. It involves fire, nettle, a lock of hair, and 7 swallowed teeth. It fails. The couple it was meant for die clutching each other's throats, smiling. You ask her, why is she attacking love? Baba does not answer immediately. Then she says, because love is the only thing that makes us open our mouths willingly. And she knows that. That night, you tie your jaw shut. But still in the dream she kisses you, and you kiss back, because in the dream, it feels like someone finally wants you. The children should have saved you. In stories they always do. Innocent, pure, unspoiled, too light to carry sin, too small to harbor shadows. But here in this village of slow dread and faster mouths, the children are already gone, not vanished, present, visible, but gone all the same, because something else looks out through their eyes now, and it wants to play. Children were once noise, laughter, cries, sticky hands, and skipped steps. Now, they sit quietly, too quietly. Little mouths sealed, little hands folded, little teeth sharp. One girl, Maruna, used to sing to her chickens. Now she whispers to stones, each one with a name, each one buried in the garden. She says they speak better than her parents ever did. The boy with the lazy eye, Petru, hasn't blinked in 4 days. He draws shapes in the dirt. Mouths, always mouths, some with teeth, some with none, some open, some opening. He once told the butcher's wife, "You don't chew right." She says it's wasteful. The next day she died choking on her own tongue. Petru just smiled and stopped drawing. For 1 hour. Baba Ilyana calls them mouthlets, small carriers, tiny missionaries. They're closer to the edge, she says. Less memory to hold on to, more room for something else to crawl inside. They dream earlier. They forget quicker. They open wider. You try to test it. You speak to one, Ilinka, barely 6. You ask her what she wants to be when she grows up. She tilts her head. A door, she says. You laugh nervously. To what? She replies without blinking. To her. Playtime becomes unsettling. No dolls, no games of tag. Now it's hide the tooth. Now it's who can be quietest the longest. Now it's pretend you're dead until she picks you. They play in the graveyard now, not near it, in it. They make tiny cairns with human teeth, sing little songs with no melody and far too much chewing. One boy pulls a molar from a crow's mouth and calls it a gift. You try to bring back games. You offer jacks, a skipping rope, bread dolls. They stare blankly. Then one girl says bread is her skin, we don't eat it anymore. You do not offer again. School is still held, technically. The elder's wife, Tatiana, teaches letters, or tries. The chalk always snaps. The ink runs dry. The children refuse to write their own names. They say it's how she finds them. They write other names instead. On the walls, on each other. One child carves Stana into her forearm, backwards. Perfectly. Baba says it's too late for them. But you wonder, were they ever ours? You think of the baby that refused milk. The boy who bit through his pacifier and swallowed the nipple whole. The toddler who, one night, crawled into the hearth and whispered to the ashes. They weren't just touched by her, they were designed. One night, the children gather on the village green. No adults invited. They form a circle. They hum, not a tune, just a low frequency, like teeth grinding in chorus. You watch from your window, you feel your fillings ache. Come morning, 5 adults are dead. Each one chewed something in their sleep they shouldn't have. Their blankets, their thumbs, their names. The children? Unharmed. One girl is even glowing, literally, like her veins have learned fire. You confront Baba. Ask what can be done. She hesitates. We can't burn them, she says. Fire only frees what's inside. So they try blinding them. With herbs, with smoke, with prayers whispered into eyes. It fails. One boy's gaze burns a hole in a wooden door. Another girl whispers into a priest's ear. He walks into the river, smiling. Now the children walk alone. No one dares touch them. Some say they are the mouthpieces now, the translators, the vessels. Others say they are her, not conduits, clones. And the worst part? They're happy, calm, centered, purposeful, like they finally heard something worth listening to. And it's chewing in harmony. One morning you wake to find a child at your door. Ilinka again. She holds a doll. It has your face. Its mouth is sewn shut. She smiles. We made you. You ask, shaking, made me for what? She blinks, to remember how to forget. Then she skips away, whistling. The tune is made of molars. The animals knew before you did. They always do. It wasn't the humans who first sensed the chewing in the air, the slow rot of routine, the ritual of hunger. It was the dogs who whined before dusk, the goats who bucked at shadows, the rats who began walking on 2 legs just long enough to disturb you. Because in this village, companionship is a vulnerability. And the line between pet and pest? It's thin and chewed through. The first sign was Cosma, Stana's dog. You remember him, brown, nervous, unreasonably loyal. He sat outside her hut for 3 days after the burial, eyes fixed, ears low, tail still. On the 4th night he vanished. On the 5th, they found his skin, just the skin, folded neatly beside her grave. No blood, no bones, no body, just the outer layer, like something peeled him off. Then came the cats. You thought they'd left, run off into the woods to chase mice and forget their names. But no, they were still here. You saw them, didn't you? At dusk, sitting in rows along the rooftops perfectly still, all facing the same direction, mouths open, not meowing, just open, as if listening. One morning, you find a mouse on your doorstep. Its tail is knotted, its front teeth missing, its stomach filled with human hair. Not yours, not entirely. The chickens begin to whisper. Yes, whisper. You swear it. Their coos change pitch, begin to echo. One child says the rooster told him to chew dirt until he dreamed in circles. They cook the rooster that night. Its meat is gray. It peels like paper. They eat it anyway. 3 die. One of them dies smiling. You start watching your own animals. The goat, who used to butt the door for fun, now stares at it for hours. Sometimes she hums. You think of tying her up. But she already is, you just don't remember doing it, and the rope's inside her mouth. Baba says the animals are threshold creatures, half here, half not, half ours, half hers. She says vermin and pets are the same thing now, just mouths with preference. You try to release them. The dog, the cat, even the coop. You open the gates, whistle softly, but none leave. They just look at you, hungry. Not for food, for permission. One evening you find a rat in your bed. It's sitting on your chest. It doesn't run, its mouth moves. You lean closer against your better judgment. It says your name 3 times in your voice. You don't sleep that night. Others report the same. A woman wakes to find her parrot repeating the sound of chewing over and over. Not words, just the wet rhythm. A man swears his pig blinked at him slowly and said, "She's in the marrow now." They butcher the pig. Its bones hum as they boil. They do not eat. The stew tastes like whispering. Then there's the stranger case. A cow births something wrong. Not deformed, not exactly, just familiar. It has fingers, human ones. They're holding a tooth. Its mouth is sewn shut, but moving underneath, they burn it alive. The fire screams like 4 voices at once. The next day, the dogs are gone. All of them. No barking, no howls, just chew marks on every doorframe, and paw prints, circling each home, as if marking territory. Even the insects begin to change. Flies gather only on teeth, spiders spin webs in mouths, bees buzz in threes, forming words you don't want to hear. You consider isolation. No pets, no animals, just silence. But even your reflection has started chewing, and your own mouth refuses to stay closed. One night, something climbs onto your bed. You feel the weight, the fur, the purring. You had no cat, not until now. You reach out. It bites your hand gently, not to draw blood, just to taste. You let it, because it's better than being alone, isn't it? The next morning, the villagers find you sitting up, smiling. Your teeth are longer. Your cat is gone, but your breath smells like fur and milk. You ask Baba if there's any way to separate them, to tell the difference. Pet, vermin, familiar, demon. She sighs. If it chews near you and you let it stay, it's hers. If it leaves and you grieve, it was yours. And now, every chew you hear in the walls, every scurry behind the oven, it's not just a rat. It's her trying on another voice. The sky doesn't look at you anymore. Once it had moods. Rain when the village cried, sun when the grain bloomed, frost when death needed reminding. Now, it just hangs there, thick, colorless, offended, as if the heavens themselves are trying not to breathe in what's become of this place. The wind no longer whispers through trees. It moans, not constantly, just when you least expect it, like it's trying to say something but can't find the right mouth. And when it does speak, it chews its words. Seasons don't follow the rules anymore. Spring should be near. There should be green tips on the rye. Lambs, meltwater, birds. But instead, everything is wet and wrong. The ground stays soft, not with life but with decay. The snow never fully melts. To studs, it turns to slush, then back to frost, then to nothing, then back again. The villagers call it the churn, because something beneath the soil is stirring. You wake each morning to a new climate. One day, fog. The next, thunder. Then heat, unseasonal and sticky, like a fever that never breaks. The clouds no longer drift. They loom, heavy, unmoving, like a lid. The sun appears only in glimpses, a yellowish ulcer bleeding through wool. And at night, the stars go out, one by one, not behind clouds, just gone, as if they don't want to see you anymore. The birds left weeks ago. They didn't migrate. They fled, mid-flight, mid-chirp, mid-clutch. You found feathers near the well, plucked, not fallen. The nests are still full of eggs, some cracked. And inside, teeth. Tiny, shiny, still wet. The river changed its route. It used to flow north, now it moves in circles, loops around the chapel's remains, never leaves. The fish are blind. They swim in spirals. Some float belly up, mouths still moving, mimicking speech. One child caught a trout, said it told her a secret. Now she walks on all fours. Baba says the climate is reacting to her, to you, to the chewing in your sleep, to the sighs beneath the snow. When the mouth opens wide enough, she says, even the sky becomes a throat. Lightning strikes every night, always in the same place, the old oak near Stana's grave. It should have burned to ash by now. Instead, it grows, twisted, blackened, alive. Its bark peels back like lips, and beneath, rings that pulse, like breath, like hunger. The rain won't wash you anymore. You try, strip naked in a storm, stand in the downpour, let it soak you, clean you, please, clean you. But the water just sits, oily, heavy, still, it clings, doesn't rinse. And when you finally dry, your skin smells like iron and milk. The plants have begun to hum, low, vibrational, crooked tunes. The wheat fields, what's left of them, sway off rhythm, unnatural, like they're listening to another song, one you can't hear, but your teeth ache when they move. Someone builds a weather vane out of bones. It spins constantly, even when the air is still. Always points toward the cemetery. You try to twist it twists back. Storms become regular, but they don't bring water, they bring echo. Voices that aren't yours, mimicking you, telling you secrets you already regret hearing. And the thunder? It chews. Crack, 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 like a jaw realigning. Frost returns too early. It coats the fields, then the houses, then the people. One morning a man wakes with his teeth encased in ice. He tries to scream. They shatter. You ask Baba if the weather will ever settle. She laughs. It has. It's settled into her mood. And she's feeling peckish. You dream of warmth. Once. Just once. It's fake. A mouth pretending to be the sun. It opens. You step inside. The breath is humid. The teeth are everywhere. Next morning you find snow on your pillow. It smells like rot. And underneath it, a worm, wearing a ring of milk teeth like a crown. The sky finally opens, not to shine, to watch. A slit in the clouds, a single blinking eye, then thunder, then silence, then chewing. You used to know when the day was over. The light would dim, the bread would harden, the dogs would curl at the door. Now, there is no end. Not truly. Just long stretches of chewed-up twilight, stitched together by gasps and toothaches. And yet, this is the end. You can feel it. The world is softening, like bread left in milk. It begins with the dying. Not sudden, not explosive. Peeling. People don't drop, they fold. Collapse slowly, like puppets remembering their strings were lies. One man speaks mid-sentence and slumps forward. His teeth fall out. His breath smells like warm soil. A girl in her teens walks into the woods holding a candle. They find the candle. They do not find her. But they hear her laugh when they sleep. No one counts the dead anymore. They move too much. Bodies placed in graves end up under floorboards. Burned corpses chew through the embers. One widow found her husband folded inside the water barrel. He blinked once, then dissolved. Baba Ileana sleeps now. She hasn't in weeks. Her mouth is sewn shut with nettle thread. She wears a mask of iron. Still she mumbles, even in her dreams. You listen. The words are old, older than this village, older than language. But they all sound like hunger. You fall ill. You knew it was coming, not plague fever, a soft illness. Your skin tingles, your gums pulse. You smell milk where there is none. You open your mouth one night, just once, just to drink. And your tongue speaks without your permission. I'm still hungry. You do not remember drinking, you do not remember chewing, but your teeth are sore. And your sheets are wet, and there are bite marks on your own shoulder. The village is silent now, not peaceful, just waiting. The air buzzes, low, relentless. Not flies, just teeth. Somewhere, someone is always chewing. You visit the cemetery, what's left of it. Most of the graves have split, like lips cracked by cold. Bones spill out. Some are clean, some are too clean. The iron rods are gone, not stolen, absorbed, melted into the soil, digested. You find Stana's grave. What's left of it? A hollow, pulsing crater, smells like rust and honey. There's no body, not anymore, just a mouth, gigantic, organic, breathing. It opens. You don't fall in, you walk. You don't remember how, but it's warm, like being loved. Inside, everything, all of them, everyone. Alive? No, but chewing peacefully. Their mouths moving in tandem. No food. Just the motion, just the sound. You recognize them. Neighbors, children, lovers, Baba. All still, all content, all part of her. You try to speak, but your tongue is no longer yours, it's hers, and she's smiling with it. You wake, alone, mouth full of dirt, heart slow, there's no one left. You wander, the village is gone, the earth is soft like bread, like her. And then you hear it, the final chew, one long satisfied bite, and the sky cracks. The mouth was never just a metaphor. It was the mechanism, the ritual, the rhythm of guilt, of grief, of repetition. You fed it with every superstition. Every fear, every word whispered with teeth clenched, and now it is full. You kneel, not in prayer, just in exhaustion. You open your mouth one last time and whisper good night, and the mouth whispers back, thank you. Everything goes dark. Everything tastes like bread and bone. And so we end, night wanderer. The mouth has closed, the day is over, sleep well. It could always be worse. You could be in that century,